Curious George Goes to School. It was open house at George's school, so the man with the yellow hat had come to school with George. "I want to speak to your teacher," the man said. "Wait for me, George, and don't get into trouble." George was standing in front of the art room. He opened the door and peeked in. Mr. Williams, the art teacher, was cleaning up. "Hello, George," he said. "My students will be coming by with their parents today to show them their work." The walls of the art room were covered with students' paintings. There were paintings of dancers and farmers and racing car drivers and ice skaters. On one wall was a chart with the names of all the children. Each name had a star beside it, except for Alice's name. "Poor Alice," said Mr. Williams. "She said she left her painting on my desk, but I can't find it." "Here, George, why don't you paint a picture while you wait for your friend?" George began to paint. "Keep painting, George," said Mr. Williams. "I'll be right back." And off he went. George kept painting, but it was starting to get very warm in the room. On a nearby table sat a big fan. That would cool him off. George turned it on, but as soon as he did, the fan blew the paintings off the walls and all over the room. "George," cried Mr. Williams, running into the room, "look what you've done." Mr. Williams turned off the fan. "You better help me clean up, George," he said. George picked up the papers off the floor. Some were under Mr. Williams' desk. Some were under Mr. Williams's desk. One was stuck between the desk and the wall. When George pulled it out, it was covered with dust, as if it had been there for a long time. It was a painting of a little girl riding a horse. "That's Alice's missing painting," cried Mr. Williams. "Now I can give Alice a star." When the paintings were all hanging on the walls again, the students and their parents arrived. There was Alice's painting, and there was George's painting right beside it. Now Alice's name on the chart had a gold star next to it. "Thank you for finding my painting, George," said Alice. "I like your painting too. You should have a gold star." "I agree," said Mr. Williams, and he gave George a big gold star.